Let's see, it's New Year for everywhere in the world, right? I think it should be. Bro is looking young. I'm looking young again. Oh boy. I discovered the fountain of youth. And or better lighting. All right. Sorry, I have a huge mess here on my... I'm running a little slow because I was trying to grab breakfast. It's like 9 in the morning on New Year's Day, so, you know, it's a little... Well, it's not really early. I didn't actually stay up doing anything crazy for New Year's Eve. Did you guys? Eric, are you recording properly? So, if you remember, I was recording properly last time, but... Well, I mean, I was recording last time, but I did not have sound turned on. So, this time I am 99.9% sure sound is on. I guess I could start and stop again just to make double sure, but I'm pretty sure I turned it on last time and made sure it was saved. So, we'll see. 20, 30, if only I were 30. 30 is, oh, so young to be 30 again. What? What's happening? It's like me combined with, I don't even know. Burp, 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 burp. All right. So any of y'all do some crazy partying for New Year's? Is anyone hungover or sleepy today? Nope. Nope. Nah. Oh, nobody? I didn't either, so I'm looking for, someone I can celebrate vicariously through. Normal day. Oh. I feel like getting older for me, I feel like 1 out of every 3 New Year's, I will do something like social or exciting. Like 2 years ago, my wife and I were in Poland visiting her family, and so then we took a little mini trip over to London to visit a friend of hers. So we had like a New Year's in London. That was fun. This year we did Poland again because it was time for that. But then we came back, flew back to San Francisco, and did absolutely nothing for New Year's. It was kind of glorious. We're still a little jet lagged though, so like I think that's probably why we did nothing. It was more just like tired at 9 p.m. sort of thing. Ooh, this is some cool lighting. Mr. E328, like, how are you making this stuff? Like, what is that AI rendering, hand drawn? Like, you had those entries for the Christmas stuff, which had like the cool lighting too. All right, give me one more moment. I'm gonna clean up my mess here a bit more. Whatever I was doing here. Close that. I was asking ChatGPT about C++ time measurement stuff. That's pretty exciting. Don't need that though. I was tweaking my account. Don't need that. Don't need that. And just close all that. Let's move this down here. All right, starting to get. Oop, don't need that. All right, there we go. Everything is lovely and organized. Let's see. So 1737 is going quite well. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I thought I'd be able to squeak out test builds before Christmas, like on Google Play and stuff. I'm a few days late for that. But I'm still within, I think, like a few days of work of having it ready to go. So I can show you where it is. I've been uploading lots of test builds as I go. So if you come check out ballistica.net, downloads. The latest 1 day ago. I've been updating like once or twice a day. And so it is largely almost ready. Oh, still building. But just to kind of show you the main last bit. So this 1727 is largely like this whole UI revamp that I started in the summer. I probably should have had an entire point release for this. Like this should have been 1.8, and then the 1.8 stuff should have been like 1.85 or 1. I don't know. We're out of numbers because 2.0 needs to be like 2.0. But yeah, this 1737 has been quite an endeavor. I maybe should have wrapped that stuff into 1.9, but anyway. So yeah, the new UI is largely done. It just basically like it needs to be some polishing here and there, and you know, making it a little shiny and pretty. But the main bits of functionality I've been working on is like one is this notifications thing. So no one's getting notifications yet or messages, but that will start getting used a lot. Like when you win a tournament or, you know, whenever something neat happens, it'll give you a notification instead of just like printing a message at the bottom, like you won a tournament. This way you'll be able to like see, you know, tournament history or other things like that. So that's all working. So I have a little test here. See, I can do like a test inbox simple, boink. And then, oh, look, an inbox message. Hello world, okay. Or I can do, there's other stuff I can do with inbox stuff. I can like, you know, give tokens or tickets or whatever. So this one is, you got 10 tokens, hooray. Claim, boink. And tickets, try this one. You got 12 tickets, cool, all right. Yeah, so that's been a lot of work wiring up, but that's all good. And then also the chest stuff is all wired up finally. So you might notice if you don't have any chests, it now, it's a little bit more like minimized. Let me know if you think that looks bad or anything like that, but I just wanted to kind of like try to clean up the UI a little bit. I know some people are saying it looks too crowded, especially on phones. But anyway, the way it works is, you know, standard stuff like in a game. If you get a chest for winning winning a round or something like that, it's like boink, pops up, has a little, you know, timer to unlock. I still have to finish up this screen. I need to make this screen pretty, but this screen is basically you'll be able to like pay to unlock it early, or in some cases watch an ad, which will either unlock it or just like reduce the wait time. So that's. Since you can no longer buy tickets and get ads that way, like the ad, you know, the ticket purchase screen is gone. Like this will be kind of the equivalent. So if you want to watch an ad here and there to speed up your chest unlocks, like that'll be the option. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of like the last thing I got to finish up is getting this chest stuff working. So, you know, I can make it so like when you open a chest, then it'll just like show you what was in there. It'll mostly be tickets. Like for right now, like chests are basically just going to be a way to earn tickets. There'll occasionally maybe be other stuff in there, but that's largely it. So error has occurred. See, this is why it's still beta. Why is that? Oh no. Okay, I'll have to check the server logs. But yeah, just need to get this stuff all polished up, and then in the next few days should be launching this. Sorry, I've been ignoring all these posts here. Yeah, but on other notes, the rest of the UI should be largely ready to go. There's a few things like I added these explanations for like what tickets are used for and what tokens are used for. I still need to enter like translation entries for these, stuff like that. But the game itself, aside from that, should be mostly all playable. One other thing I did that I think is kind of neat is when you're not signed in, all this like account related stuff fades out. So you can, that's kind of a neat way. Also, you can tell when you're connected to the master server. Whoops. I can't sign in with my phone. Oh, I know what I can do. One moment. On my to-do list, I don't even remember my password here, but my password manager doesn't work in this UI, so I have to like use my phone to sign in. On my to-do list is adding a little button so it'll just like open up a normal web browser so I can use my password manager. So, but in the meantime, I will use my tablet camera for the like one time ever. Okay, all right. There we go, sign in. Okay, that works. But as I was saying, yeah, like all the UI elements will be like faded if you're not basically signed in and connected to the master server. So you can kind of use that as a way to see like how fast your game connects. Like when you launch the game, you can see like it takes like a split second to become unfaded there. Because I'm in California, I'm right next to all the master servers and all that, so it's very fast. But let me know if it takes like 10 seconds or something for all your stuff to appear, because that means I need to improve things. That's kind of, I've been working on that, trying to get the game to like connect to the master server as fast as possible, so that whenever you come into the game, you don't have to sit there like waiting. So Let me know if you do have to sit there waiting. So yeah, that's basically it. So again, I'll start rolling out Google Play test builds within the next day or two. And so, let me know if anything seems broken, if you just use these builds as normal builds, and if you come across bugs or anything like that. We're kind of getting into bug fix mode. Aside from finishing up treasure chests, everything should be there. Yeah. And then the one other thing I want to polish is, when you do open now, there should be a little animation just to show that you're gaining stuff, just to make it fun. Right now it says let's see if if I give myself a message to give myself some tokens, when I hit claim, it's just my tokens just go up. But I'd rather have it animate, that'd be fun. All right, so anyway, that's all of my updates. I will now stop rambling and see what everyone's been typing here for the last 3 minutes. Maybe just type stuff again, and I'll just scroll as I see. Or yeah, I'll just answer questions as I go. So if you posted something in the last few minutes, just post it again. I'm bad with scrolling up and trying to scroll back and not missing things. Reporting errors with 1.4. I do not plan to stop supporting 1.4. There was, in the last week, if you've been on the server here, there was one issue where it was kind of a substantial issue. What was it? Oh yeah, you couldn't create or delete player profiles if you're running 1.4. And that was just a straight up bug that I introduced because I was adding all this stuff to make the V2 and the V1 server talk to each other, and I broke something slightly. So it basically, what was happening is if you had a V1 only account, like an old device account or something, it would just not update your account. You'd make a profile and it just it would just throw it away. It's you don't need that profile. So I just fixed that bug a few days ago, so that should be good. But if you are, if you're running into any issues with 1.4, not working on the server, let me know. Or just V1 accounts not working on the server, any old stuff not working, try to, ideally, if you can find a repro case, just tell me step by step how to make it happen, because that lets me fix things. It's hard for me to fix things if I don't see the bug. Sometimes if you're running into a bug, I'll see that in the server logs. It'll be this value was not found in this player profile, error. But in other cases, I need to be able to run it myself and cause the bug myself so I can fix it. So, but yeah, so long story long, I don't intend to stop supporting version 1.4 for as long as possible. The one kind of big split that'll be coming up is when 1.8 rolls out, which hopefully won't be too long after this giant 1737. When 1.8 starts rolling out, it's going to be probably servers that serve 1.8 stuff won't be able to serve to 1.4, because it'll be asset downloads and things like that 1.4 just can't do. So I'll have to kind of break compatibility there a little bit. So you have to decide if you want to serve for 1.4 era games or 1.8 era games, which means 1.8 you'll be able to do custom assets and things like that. So, but then you won't be able to host older clients. The other way around though, if you're hosting a 1.4 server, I fully intend to keep that working. So in 1.8 you should still be able to join 1.4 servers. That's probably the more common the common use of keeping 1.4 around is for servers. So yeah, hopefully that someone answered that question. So, but yeah, 1.8 client, I want to fully support joining 1.4 servers. I don't have plans to ever remove that. I mean, maybe in the distant future, once nobody's using 1.4, but right now there's still enough 1.4 stuff around. I'd really like to at least keep it working. And there shouldn't be a reason to ever really pull that support, because any major changes going forward will probably be Scene V2 and other feature sets, which will be completely different from the classic stuff. So I think the classic stuff should still work forever, at least how it is now. So in a way, that's kind of I sort of intend this to be the final version of the classic Bomb Squad environment. So I want to try to get it right. Because when the next step after this will be 1.9, which is squads mode. And that'll probably be like a completely different UI. You'll just be able to go between like classic mode and squads mode. Squads mode will just all be built around, building a squad essentially. It'd be more like Fortnite or something where you like invite a few friends and then you see them in your UI and then you hit play to start a game or match against, another squad, stuff like that. So kind of the entire setup will be a little bit different. But for the classic stuff, I fully intend to keep the classic stuff around. It'll just be like, it'll be one option. Like you can go and Bomb Squad Classic or whatever. So that's why, like I said, I want to keep everything working in classic here and just kind of let it be frozen in time a little bit. All right, can you add my 3D model app to Bomb Squad? Unfortunately, I don't plan on adding much to the game itself. The big plan is to make downloads possible. Like that's the big thing with 1.8 is to make it so you can publish an asset package, and then if the game joins your server that uses that asset package, it'll just automatically download that stuff. So if you come up with, what do you got here? It's like a bridge map. Cool. If you build maps or characters or anything like that, you'll be able to share those with other people, and it won't involve me having to add it to the core game. If anything, what I'd like to do is remove stuff from the core game, just to like strip it down to as clean and simple as possible. And then let's say you want to join one of the classic maps, it'll maybe just like download that from the cloud as needed or something like that. Or maybe it'll still include all the classic stuff out of the box, but just having it support downloads, like there's some cool things we can do with that. We're getting 2.0 in 2030. Hopefully before then. Custom soundtrack and its status in Android. This is something I haven't actually looked at a ton. At some point, I want to revisit custom soundtracks because I have some ideas that would be really cool. I'd like to bring them to more platforms and things like that. As far as the Android custom soundtracks, I have not like disabled them or anything. I've not gone out of my way to break them, but I haven't been like testing them thoroughly. So they might be broken in some cases. Let me know if you find that. Do you know when Linux support will have Python dependencies fixed? I use Linux. I want to play my favorite. This is kind of like, so the issue here is right now the Linux version requires Python, and sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold I had over Christmas. The Linux version requires Python and a few other things, and so it like links against those libraries. But Linux being, there's so many different Linux distros and things that if you don't have like the specific exact version of Python, like you might not be able to run the game, or if you have like an older Linux distro. So it's a little bit of a pain. I mean, there's a few ways to fix that. Like one would be making a proper, like packages for different major distributions like Ubuntu and things like that. Or there's newer stuff like Flatpak or, like the different like packaging systems. I could adopt that. What's been like on my to-do list for a while is basically what Android does. Like the Android version of the game is technically Linux. Like Android is it's the Linux kernel with like different runtimes. But it basically compiles all of Python and all the libraries that it needs into itself. So it's like just this big giant thing that includes like all the stuff that it uses. So at some point I need to build a Linux version that does that essentially. And then that should improve the situation a lot. It won't be like looking for specific Python versions that you might not have installed because it'll just like include everything itself. I don't have a specific timeline for that. That's just one of those like that would be nice to have things that hopefully I'll get done in the next version or two. I would definitely need that to be done before a proper like Steam release of the game, at least like a Linux Steam release. Though that gets me thinking too, like releasing on Steam, like maybe I should just release Windows because it's starting to get where like Linux can run like with things like the Steam Deck and stuff like that. It's pretty well supported to be able to like run Windows games under Linux. So that makes me wonder if I should just like polish up the Windows version and not keep the Linux version kind of like unofficial. You know what I mean? All right, I should answer. BS flat pack confirmed. No, I'd love to do. Uh, yeah, like any of those kind of packaging systems, flat packs, or I feel like I'm a little like jet lagged still. What the Ubuntu one? What is it called? Not Flatpak. So Snap, Snap crap. Apparently not a fan of Snap. I see. It's funny, those things are polarizing. Like some people are like Snap forever, like Team Flatpak, yeah. Your mom. Okay, second, third. Oh, I saw this the other day. Yeah, so you mentioned. Is it? Do you remember, or is it public? Like how it purges this cache? Is it 60 or 90 days? Or for some reason I thought it was like a maximum like file size. Maybe I'm wrong there, or like the X most recent files, like an account. But yeah, my cache server. Like when I do prefab builds and things like that, it builds out all the like the binaries and asset files and things like that, and then it like stuffs them all up on my cache server, which is just like an AWS machine. But it only keeps like most several. Well, it keeps a decent amount, but it tries to keep like the newest ones. But it at some point it like purges old ones. But the problem is apparently it's not keeping enough. So as you mentioned, if you try to build 1736 prefab builds, it won't be able to find those files because they've been purged. Because 1737 has been cooking for so long that is the only build covered by those cache files. So that sucks. I definitely should fix that or extend that at least. I don't know if I can make it like permanent because I'm uploading prefab builds all the time. And so if I kept every file from every prefab build like indefinitely, that might start to be very expensive. I'm not sure. I could take a look. Let me. I can come in here and just show you where that stuff lives. So this is the BA staging, which is the name of my Linux server where I store random files like files.ballistica.net, stuff like that. Hopefully I'm not showing anything sensitive here. I don't think it is. I forgot, where does that stuff live? Actually, yeah, there might have been some like slightly secret paths in there, so I probably should. I mean, it's not a big deal, but yeah, there's a giant directory in there with a bunch of cache files, and I was going to see how big that directory is. I'm sure it's some gigs, but I should be able to up the limit on that. Eric really doesn't want Windows players to be able to read. Oh no, that's not true. I fully support reading. Reading is good. I assume that's about Unicode support. That leads me back to the idea of releasing on Steam. It might be easier for me to just release the Windows build officially and not the Linux build yet, because it'll probably be easier to add Unicode support to the Windows build instead of the Steam build, or the Linux build, sorry. Bomb Squad review? Oh, Ouya game review. I assume this is like a million years old, or unless someone did like a recent review.
Really comes in. Well, not customizable, but as it to hit harder or throw.
Oh, nostalgia. Keeping the cameras round. Oh, get a square put. Oh, that's a good point. Not cool, not cool. Okay, I will switch to square-ish viewport shape. Is that better? It's still got rounded corners, but it's square-ish. Can you wear the cap and the hoodie straight to the camera? I can. Okay, let's see. Where's... it's been cold here lately, so I've just been like wearing a hoodie. How's that? Looking all Darth Sidious. Love it. Oh, what version of Python does 1733? Oh, man, you're asking the hard questions. 1733. If you're ever wondering, the easiest way to determine that, what I always use is Python in the sys. To import sys.version. So you can see 3.12.0. It's been 3.12. Well, on the Mac version is 3.12.0. I think Android is like 3.12.5 or something like that. But anyway, it's been on 3.12 for a while. Yeah, so my guess is 3.12. Every British bloke ever. What have I done? I want to play on Mac, it's horrible. What? Oh. I have to wait over 2 years to read. Oh, if you're referring to the Windows stuff, Windows Unicode support, that's one of those things where it's probably a few days of work, if that. It's just like I need an excuse to do that, slot that in one of these days. Won't be before, well, it could be any time. Whenever I need like an escape from what I'm currently doing. 60, no, Mac version is 120 FPS. Or it's whatever, let's see, what is this? I'm actually curious because the laptop screen is 120 FPS. My monitor up here is 60 FPS, so I'm kind of curious what it would report in this case, or what like the graphics system is actually running at right now. See, oh, there we go, 120. Haha. You can't tell because I'm streaming at 30, but still. And I'm looking at a monitor that's running at 60, but somewhere there's 120 frames. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 60 hertz is... It's funny, that used to seem all smooth. Now it's like Are any of you guys like that? Like if you see a phone or something running at 60 hertz, it just looks kind of janky. I feel like all like snotty and elitist, but yeah, 60 hertz is... Ugh. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. Like going back to the Linux version, like theoretically, if you're running a version of Linux that has 3.12 point whatever, or 3.12 probably, it should work. But there's always, seems like there's weird differences between Linux distros. So I'm building all the Linux builds right now with like Ubuntu 20, either 20 or 22 LTS. Which unfortunately means like older Ubuntu's won't work, but anything newer than that, and hopefully other equivalent distros should work. But yeah, you feel me. Yeah, I feel like 90 hertz or anything above 60 is just so much better. My main monitor here, it's a very nice, like it's an old monitor at this point. It's like a 5K, which is a nice amount of working space, but it's 60 hertz. And it's like, oh man. Yeah, I am using a fancy MacBook. I figure yeah, probably could get away with something less expensive, but it's, figure I'm doing like staring at it for 90% of my life, so I splurge a bit on it. If when you solve the cache repo, I will make, well, this could be an issue. I'm not sure if I can bring back 1736 prefabs. That, I can take a look. Maybe I have backups somewhere, but unfortunately, like the old prefab files just get purged after a while. I think I do have them on backup. It would just be a question of I would need to like merge those with the current files. I'll take a look and see like how much work that would be. I mean, the best I can, at the least I can extend the purge deadline so in the future stuff won't get purged as quickly. I can like double it or something like that. I can see if I can make it smarter too, just like it never purges stable versions until unstable versions are gone or something like that. Oh yeah, it would need to recompile. Yeah. Maybe I can do, I might be able to just, yeah, like push out a new, well, yeah, I could like push out a new 1736 test build if that won't screw up 1737 stuff. Ugh. How tall are you in centimeters? I have no idea. I'm American. We don't use sensible systems here. I am 5 foot 10 inches basically, so I'm just under 6 feet. I don't know what that is in centimeters. The internet can tell you. Okay, I will. I'll take a look. Whoops. When I'm mucking with the system, I'll see if I can take a look and have it do this sort of thing where, yeah, like don't purge stuff until stable is updated. Or just cranking the number up. I mean, that could do it too. I hope, well, I guess like other major versions, maybe like 1.9 might be like this, where there's like an unstable build out there for months at a time. This has been like one of the longest streaks though, definitely with 1737, just because the UI changes are so substantial under the hood that, you know, it's been like a long time since I've been able to push an actual update to the public. But very, very close finally. Oh, interesting. So you can like override music, but it'll like fall back to the normal one. That sounds smart. Yeah, that would probably make sense. I was thinking of something like that. Talking about like ideas I've had for like revamping the soundtrack system. I was thinking stuff like that where, you know, there'd be different sources for soundtracks. Like if you had, I don't know, Spotify or something like that, we could wire it up to play some music, but then not everyone's going to have Spotify. So, you know, so maybe that would even work in like networked games where, you know, people join your server and it'll like play that music if they have Spotify. But if they don't, then it'll fall back to the normal game music. Like something like that could be cool. At the same point, that won't apply to everyone though, which is a bit of a bummer. It would only be people with Spotify or, you know, Apple Music or whatever other system that was getting used. I'm as tall as you. Need to know what version 1719 uses. Is anyone else? Probably like there's probably some Linux Super Pro command that you could use if you download the 1719 binaries. It's like I'm forgetting right now, but LD or something. You know, one of those things that tells you which libraries a binary uses. So if you run that on just the Bomb Squad binary, it should tell you like we are looking for this symbol in Python 3.10.dylib or whatever, or .so on Linux, I guess. Saddam, what happened? Ooh, overclocked demo. That's, I thought about that, like the idea of flying on 3D levels, you know, like a jetpack sort of thing. Oh, that's cool. I like it. Nice. Yeah, always good stuff with overclocked. Why don't spaz have gravity scale attribute? That's just... yeah, it could be good to add. One of those things where, well, maybe even theoretically, I'm trying to remember. Like, this is something I was talking about before Christmas. Like for 1.8, the game will kind of have, probably 1.8 servers will have like a new, it'll be a new like API version like internally for the networking code or whatever. So theoretically, we can make changes like that without breaking things if we do it carefully. So yeah, at some point, maybe like right before 1.8, we should make a list of a few little improvements we could get in there for when you're hosting 1.8 servers. You know, things like that. You know, stuff that would like change the physics or whatever. Because unfortunately, that stuff is hard to do in a way that doesn't break old servers. Because you know, if you're hosting a game and someone joins from 1.4 and then your spaz node sets some like gravity scale attribute, the 1.4 client is going to be like, what the hell is this? It just like gives up and blows up. So you have to do things in like kind of a careful way where if you are like hosting, like the server needs to know like what kind of internal API version it is hosting. And if it's hosting an older one that 1.4 can join, it needs to avoid using any of those like new attributes. So it's doable. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. Bomb Squad Remix. What? Are there logic reasons from stopping it? Oh wait, what? What is this referring to? Oh, the same thing. Yeah, so that is the logic reason from stopping it. Hopefully I explained that decently. Is any attributes that you expose on like a spaz node or any other node, they will just break older versions of the game. Like if the server says like, hey client, create a spaz over at this location and set his gravity scale to 2. The 1.4 client's like, what? So you know the server needs to be very careful about not doing that if there's older clients. So it just involves some bookkeeping and stuff like that, like keeping track of you know which like spaz version you are or something. I don't know. Well. Implement new buttons. By new buttons, you mean you know like new controller buttons? Like, yeah, if you can elaborate on that. At some point, it would be cool to support more controller buttons. I've intentionally tried to limit the game to you know the 4 buttons and a D-pad kind of layout, just so that the people with simple controllers can play. It would be cool to have a kind of an official way to support extra buttons though. So that would be a good thing to revamp at some point. I mean, anything is possible. This stuff's open source, so you can hack it around like however you like. It's more of a question like, will that break the game? Interacting with other versions of the game. If you have a server that's sending out button presses, or that the game doesn't recognize, the client will blow up. If we do it in some smart way though, like in the future, we can maybe make that extensible to where mostly the game uses the standard like 4 buttons, but if someone wants to like code a mini game or code just a mod or whatever that uses more buttons, that would be possible. That's yet another thing. It's funny, I've been working on this game forever. There's never a shortage of things that need to be like revamped though. Like the controller code. That's one of those things that is just like pretty old and outdated and ugly right now. And it's missing some big things like vibration support. But that would have to be added at kind of a low level. Again, it's one of those things where if I add like vibration commands to where like the server, the way it would work is, someone with the controller would press punch, which sends that punch command to the server. The server then like processes all that stuff. And then let's say that player gets hit with a bomb. So then the server has to send that message back to that player saying like, hey, whoever's holding this controller, like make it vibrate. Which is not that complicated. It's more just, again, like if the server is sending that out and a 1.4 client is connected, the 1.4 client doesn't understand that message and blows up. So it's one of those things where it has to be done in a smart way where it doesn't blow up old versions of the game. But anyway, yeah, the input code that's something that I'd love to just clean up and kind of rewrite at some point, especially if you come into like joystick input is what it's called. Yeah, this file is one of those like extremely long, extremely, I don't know if I would say complicated, just like extremely big, established kind of crusty old files that I wouldn't want to try to change it too much because it's very much kind of set in stone. So at some point there'll probably just be like a modern joystick input or something like that, which will kind of take over for this at some point. And get cool things like vibration support or like extra buttons. So good to keep thinking about. Node schema. I mean, it sounds good in a way if there's a way to add, type safety or, make it easier to work with existing Scene v1 stuff. The big thing here that sounds scary is this part. All different nodes be removed from the native layer. There's certain nodes such as, namely like the spaz node. If you come in here, whoops, what am I doing? Turn my brain back on. Come into Scene v1, node, spaznode.cc. Like if you were trying to implement all logic through Python or something like that, like this would not behave well at all. Like this, the spaz node does like tons of crazy low-level rigid body stuff. If you come in here and just look at like forces, it's getting quaternions from random angles, setting individual joint stiffnesses like at every step. There's just like a ton of random physics logic in here. And trying to do that in like a generic way through Python would just destroy performance. It's like Python is great and wonderful and flexible, but it's You know, if you look at like the raw speed of Python compared to C++, it's nowhere in the ballpark. It's like 100 times slower or something like that. Plus, it's not thread safe, so you can only have like one thread running Python at a time. So it's really important to not do like a ton of processing with Python. Stuff that is happening like in this file, you know, all this low-level physics stuff. Yeah, again, just like everything here is, you know, every time you create a spaz, it sets a bajillion stiffnesses and dampings and spring forces and all this stuff. So from a design standpoint, trying to make things generic to where, you know, there'd just be like one node type and you fill in all the logic with Python, like that sounds appealing, but you know, from a performance standpoint, I feel like that would be quite prohibitive. Also a ton of work too, just like, I feel like it'd be way less work implementing Scene v2 versus re-implementing Scene v1 in a generic way, if you know what I mean. So if there's, I don't know, if there's ways to make things more generic for Scene v1 that you can think about without requiring, you know, basically ripping or, you know, re-implementing or ripping out like all the C++ node code, like that could be an improvement, but right now that sounds a little time prohibitive or cost prohibitive. I hope that makes sense. I am, in general, I'm thinking about all that stuff in terms of like trying to make things more elegant and extensible and all that for Scene v2. I know it's slow going, but it is like, that overall problem is very much in my mind. But again, if you have ideas for ways you can improve Scene v1, you know, still open to talking more about them. Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding this if I do this. Okay, well maybe, I mean, that, it does sound, I mean, the ideal of it sounds good, like making it so the node system never has to be changed. It just like realistically getting to that point, like that seems, I don't know, this seems like quite challenging. If you want to try, you know, like come up with a proof of concept or something, or, you know, work towards that, I will try to keep things framed to where we could support that. You know, like that could be a, you know, it could be like a Scene v1b or something. My thought would be we could split that out into just a separate feature set or whatever, in the same way that Scene v2 would be split out into a different feature set. You know, maybe there's some way, you know, I'd want to support any work like that. It's more just like I feel like I can't commit my time to helping with it really, but I'd like to, you know, if you want to try to make that happen, you know, I'm all for it. That's kind of the reason for the feature set stuff is like, I'd really like to have an environment where people can experiment with things and be like, oh, hey, Scene v1 is cool, but what if we did it in this different way? And then like, I'm going to make Scene v1 Bob, you know, and then like the best one can survive, or, you know, people can have their like different modded versions, but if someone makes like a super awesome, you know, variation of Scene v3, like Scene v3x, then we can like, you know, that one could win out and live on or whatever. Am I sure? I am definitely recording. This little icon up here means I'm recording. Oh, unless you are asking about sound, in which case I'm not sure. Yes, I'm sure I'm recording something. Hopefully sound is included. That was the problem last time. If I forgot again, you're all going to have to come back and we'll re-record this thing and everyone can just say exactly what they said in the same order. So should we add gravity scale for spaz or no? I mean, I would say gravity scale for spaz is fine as long as we do it in a you know, backwards compatible way, which means I think there's a few features in there that are like that already, where it's basically I think there's like a spaz, like a global spaz version or something that gets set in Python code. It's at like 2 or 3, and that basically that acts as a flag to like flip on newer features. So we could do something like that where like Spaz version would be flipped to 4, and so like the newer servers would flip when they're creating Spaz nodes, they would flip that feature set to like 4, and so then it would use whatever new attributes we want to add. Like I said, there's probably examples of stuff like that in there already. We just need to make it copy them essentially. Merp. Oh, interesting. Saying server, okay, server is using more resources after running for a while. So if you or anyone else are seeing this, like any more details on that would be good, because the way the server works is there's the server wrapper, which is just like a Python binary that basically all it does is it launches up the game binary, like the headless version of it, hosts the game for a while, a few hours, and then restarts. So that would be one thing I would want to know is like, did you disable that or something? Like, do you have the game binary running indefinitely? Because that's not good. I'm sure there's leaks and things in the game to where it's good to like restart it every few hours. And the other option is if the server wrapper itself is somehow like leaking resources or using more CPU or something. So if you have a server that is using a lot of energy after a while, looks like 90% CPU? Is that, yeah, my question would be like, is that the server binary or is that the wrapper? So here, CPU, what is this? Is this sorted by, I'm seeing a bunch of zeros. Yeah, my question would be like, are you seeing, if you measure this, like where is that CPU usage coming from? Or is that in any of these? So it looks like we're seeing a lot of CPU usage here, but I'm not seeing any info about it here. Like there could certainly be something leaking. Like if the game binary is not shutting down, but it's like still spinning in the background, then like every time the server spins a new one up, like that could cause more resources. So any info you can find out there would be useful, just to see like is the server wrapper using more CPU itself, or are the individual game wrappers like not shutting down, or are you not having it reboot the game, or are you not having it reboot the game binary every so often? And is the one game binary like using more resources? Yeah, those would be questions I would have. I don't. If this is the Linux version, I would not think a virus would be a possibility. Can't say for sure, but I have no reason to think that. Script Mr. Smoothie. Always click on the ad. What? Oh no. Mr. Noball, I keep seeing your messages. I will take a look at your account sometime. Like, can you send me a private message after this? I know you've sent me private messages before. Like, I'm not trying to hide from you or anything. It's mostly just like I need you to be around when I have a moment to check it. Yes. But yeah, in general, yeah, with the script or like if something's using more and more resources, yeah, it would be good to know exactly what is using that, like the binary, the script, the wrapper script, something else on your system. Yeah, if your CPU is running when the server is off, I mean, if the server is actually off, like that's very mysterious. I don't know what that could be. Take your server to doctor. Yes. I mean, we should. At this point, I mean, the game hasn't, aside from like newer versions of Python, like the game definitely like it leans more on Python now, and Python has gotten more, probably more resource intensive, and there's a lot more Python script than there was 10 years ago. But in general, like the C++ parts and the low level parts, they haven't gotten more resource intensive in like 10 years really. So it should run on a potato now. If it's not, then we need to fix it. Which is kind of a nice thing at this point. Like it's nice to be able to run on like a low end Android phone, stuff like that. When it was new, it was more like I remember putting so much work in to try to get the game running on my iPhone 4 when I was first porting to mobile, and that was, oh my gosh, that was so painful. I never really got it running decently on there, but that was the last on the Apple side. That was the last like mobile, the last phone that only had a single processor, and that was so limiting. The iPhone 4S and the iPad 2 and like all the equivalent to Android devices at the time, they started to have multiple processors, which that made such a big difference because I could split the game up into different threads and have like the graphics thread and the logic thread, stuff that is still in there today, but just having multiple processors to be able to like work on those things at once instead of like one processor splitting its time. Oh my gosh, it made such a difference. But yeah, in an alternate universe, it would be curious, like if I had released the game on iPhone first instead of Android, and people ran it on iPhone 4s. I'm curious, like if that would have been playable at all. But thankfully now we're on like iPhone 16 or something, and equivalent Android stuff, which is a little more horsepower. Check PRs when. I'm sorry to keep all you all waiting on PRs. I'm just really, really, really wanting to get 1.7 whatever. 1.7, yeah. This newest build out the door, at least like a rough version of it. So I think PRs. I'll pull PRs in like hopefully in a few days once this 1737 is at least out the door as an Android test build or as a Google Play test build. I mean. Oop, what's this referring to? Oh, getting 1 minute plus ads. Oof. I will be revamping. Well, I mean, if you can afford Pro or something, just to get rid of the ads, not to try to make you pay, but I don't actually have any. As far as I know, I don't have control over like which ads it shows or like length or whatever. It's just like showing the default ads for the ad network. It's something where, unless there's a real reason, well, even if there's like bad or inappropriate ads, I feel like the ad network should be trying to avoid that. I'm using Google for ads, so it's like I feel like they should be decently responsible about that stuff. But yeah, I don't think there's any controls I can do for like only show shorter ads. Old video I made when I was working with my friends on zombie gunship stuff. With slow-mo, we had these like little drones we got off from AliExpress or something, or whatever at the time. Attacking one of my coworkers. The bellows of happiness is just the best part. I love it. Well, skipping ad, I would not recommend buying a gold pass just to skip ads. Right now, Pro is the easiest way to skip ads. I will be adding some other way. If Pro gets replaced with something else, I will be adding another less expensive way to skip ads. I might just do like if you've purchased anything, like even the cheapest token pack, it might just like turn off ads for the rest of the season or for permanently or something like that. Really, like realistically, ads is just so the game can make a bit of money from people who never buy anything. You know, it's just like an alternate way to make a bit of money from players. Got to pay for my servers. So if you are someone who is buying token packs, I don't want to be annoying you with ads. So that's kind of my thought maybe going forward is that maybe in the token era, maybe it's just like if you buy anything, a token pack or whatever, it'll just disable ads for a while or permanently. Oh, I have, whoops. Yeah, I can glance through and take a look at PRs that are there just to give thoughts on them or feedback or questions or, verbal abuse, whatever. What am I doing? I swear I'm like, I was in Poland, like I said, visiting my wife's family, and I got like a cold while I was there and then flew back, and so I was like jet lagged for a few days, and I feel like I'm just getting over all that, so I feel like my mental state is still not quite recovered. So I'm just like, what am I doing again? Pull requests. Turning into one of those old people. Like, how do I get to the thing? Okay, angular velocity is a public attribute in prop node for modding. So I saw this one. This is a cool idea. The one thing that would apply here is we would have to put that safety net in where this only applies to the newest protocol version. That's what the C++ layer thing is for like how the server and client communicate to each other. Because if we run a line like this, like prop node.angular velocity equals this, and the poor guy playing on 1.4, his client is going to get a message like set angular velocity to this on your prop node. That poor guy on 1.4 is just going to explode and die because he doesn't know what angular velocity is. So that we'd have to put those safety checks in to make sure that this would only ever work if the protocol version is high enough, like if we're serving a game that 1.4 guy cannot join, so that's why, in terms of like the functionality, I'm all for it. Like that's cool. Like any physics controls that would be useful, like let's go for it. It's just like we need to be careful about that. If new physics laws are added. If new physics laws are added and you don't change like the protocol version, then like I said, any client on any older version of the game, it's going to get a message saying like, hey, set this new attribute to this value, and it won't know what that attribute is, so it just it crashes or it errors. It won't refuse to join. It'll just it should just bounce out of the game as soon as it gets that message. So that's why we have to make sure, like, don't send that message. If we're hosting a game that can possibly be joined by older clients, we can never use that attribute so that it never sends that message. Does that make sense? How much you speak languages? Not very well. I took Spanish in high school, so I can understand Spanish a little bit. And I'm learning a tiny bit of Polish because my wife's Polish. So, but I cannot really speak either very well or at all, basically. Getting there. Oh, other PRs too. Sorry, I get easily distracted. A little. Angular velocity, good idea. Just need to do it in a backwards compatible way. Changelog to release body. This one sounds great. Yeah, I saw that. Good idea. I like it. Any documentation, change logs, whatever, always good. Spawn time fix. I haven't looked at this one yet. Oh, interesting. Remove the delay. Okay, that sounds reasonable. How does it remove the delay? I'm curious, like what that delay stemmed from. Okay, well, offhand it looks good. I don't think I have ADHD. If they're, in general, I feel like if there's something opposite of ADHD, I have that. Like I never get tired of things. If I'm like listening to a song, I will just listen to that song for like 2 days. Is anyone else like that? Or, you know, if I'm doing something and enjoying it, I'll just like never get bored. That's why I've been working on this game for like 1,000,000 years. That's autism. Okay. Maybe I have autism. No. Well, you never know. I could be like very slightly on the spectrum or something. I wouldn't be surprised. Spawn time fix, small but fun. Oh yeah, going back to this one, small but fun change. I thought of something the other day. So my thought, Mr. Vishal, on this was like this is a fun little idea. The one thing that seemed weird to me is that it doesn't really do anything when you press the buttons, right? It just beeps. So I thought maybe it would like confuse people. Like what is this supposed to be doing something? Like showing me. My thought is, what if we did something just a little more fun where like you had it play a sound like kind of associated with that, like the bomb button, it could play like a bomb sound, or there's not a sound anymore when you whip out a bomb, right? Maybe just like an explosion, or the jump sound could be, you know, like a spaz jump noise. Punch could be like a punch, you know, just something where it's kind of clear that it's just making a fun sound, as opposed to like playing the standard button noise and then not doing anything else, you know. So I don't know if you'd be interested, or if that sounds like a good idea to you. Like I'd totally be down for that. If you just like wire these up to make different sounds, and then I'm cool with it. And then the only other thing I was mentioning, which I don't think it'll actually be a problem, is if these are changed to buttons, make sure that doesn't mess up like controllers, to where like if I'm using the keyboard right now and I navigate to that section, like how to play, and I press down and up, you know, it scrolls. So that if you're on a controller, you can see all this stuff. You know, I would just want to make sure that it's not going to like suddenly start selecting the buttons and then you can't scroll anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think it will, but depending on what your code does, that's just something to be aware of. But aside from that, I think that's a great change. Oh, you made it non-selectable? Oh, okay. That should do the right thing then. So that was my two concerns, is just like it could be cool to have it maybe have different sounds, number one, and then two, make sure it doesn't mess up selection. But yeah, I'm all in favor of fun little things. Get screen size. Yeah, this looks good to me too, I think. Yeah, no complaints there. It would just give you like the screen virtual dimensions. My only thought is like, is there any way to do that already in a weird roundabout hacky way? I find myself doing that sometimes. Like I did that this last week. I added some function to the Python layer, and then at the end of that, I noticed like I already added that exact same function with a different name like years ago. I was like, whoops. So we just want to make sure that there's not already a way to do this somewhere in some weird roundabout way. Check code. Screen. Oh, this would be one thing. So this might not. So pixel width and pixel height. I guess that leads me to a question. Is like normally the screen has like a virtual width and virtual height. And that is what like all the UI elements use and things like that. So it's like, you know, you can see like as I'm sizing things up and down, everything stays where it is relative to the screen. That's like because the virtual width and virtual height are staying the same, even though the pixel width and pixel height are changing. So did you intend to return pixel width and pixel height? Like, is there a use for that? My thought would be you'd probably want virtual width and virtual height. And if you do want pixel width and pixel height, my thought would be like we should rename this to like pi get screen pixel size or something like that. So yeah, was this intended to be pixel size or intended to just be like something you could use for, I don't know, like UI elements or node screen positioning? Well, again, screen size is kind of, it can be multiple things. Like right now, the pixel size is changing, but the virtual size is staying the same. Whereas if I come in here and tweak that, now the virtual size just changed. So here I'm changing the virtual size, basically, I think. Or no, maybe that doesn't actually change the virtual. Well, yeah, it technically does. Yeah, you can see the virtual bounds. So this is virtual screen size. And then the virtual bounds are like, they change a little different depending on like small, medium, or large. Small is intended for phones, so it does like the widescreen. Medium is intended. Medium and large are like tablets and PCs and all that, so they have like the kind of more TV-like ratio. But in most cases, like if you're planning to plug those values into like UI elements or plug those values into like nodes displaying things on the screen, you'd probably want the virtual width and virtual height. So my thought would be if the function is going to be named just like get screen size, I feel like it should return virtual width and virtual height. I don't know if there's anything in the game that really needs to know pixel width and height aside from like low level graphics stuff. Yeah, if you want, you can make both functions. I kind of feel like I don't know if there's a use case for having the pixel width and height, because like there's no, unless I'm not thinking of something, there's no case where that really matters if you're coding in Python. Like you're never positioning things in pixels. You're always positioning things based on, the virtual screen size. So if there is a reason to expose pixel width and height, then I'm all for that. But my thought would be like, let's not expose that if there's not a need for it, because people will think that that's the size that they want, and then their code breaks on a screen that has more pixels than theirs. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thought there is I feel like virtual screen size is probably what we want. It should just be in the same place. It's called virtual instead of pixel. Get screen size, small fix. Should select line as meta only. It starts with. Oh, right. Yeah, this probably makes sense. I've run into this myself too, where like the meta, the meta processor incorrectly finds lines that it shouldn't. So I think that's good. I was gonna say the only thing, I wonder if there would ever be a line that would be indented that would have a BA meta tag, because this will make it so we can't do that. For instance, let me check something. So I'm wondering if we'd want to do this like a slight different way. For instance, yeah, if we ever had a reason to come down here and be like, BA meta stuff thingy poop, this line would no longer work. You know what I mean? So like there could be legitimate cases where BA meta is used in an indented case. So I'm wondering if it should be like l.strip.starts with, you know, something that would like remove white space before it, you know what I mean? That might be a, you know, super annoying bug to track down if there is ever a reason to, you know, like meta tag something that is indented. Pixel size, getting access to the corners of the screen. In what, like, for what use though? Like what, like for the OS size corner, or what, yeah, like what do you use those corner values for? Oh. Myrrh? What's happening there? So is this for like automatically resizing UI elements? Size the gather window to full screen. I still think if you're doing things like sizing gather window to full screen, wouldn't that still use virtual size though? Am I miss? Oh, so you're resizing like the window on Windows, or like the actual, like the window in the game? Eric is getting old and slow. I've been old and slow for a long time. Yeah, so I got that part. So as the screen window size. But like, wouldn't that do that if you sized it, you know, this big in virtual dimensions? Wouldn't that? I mean, I guess if you wanted to resize, well, no, even then in like virtual, like if you got the virtual dimensions here, X and Y, like, yeah, I guess I would just have to take a look. But I feel like this stuff is all dealing in virtual dimensions, so I'm still confused like why you're plugging in pixels. Meh. I mean, it seemed to be working, so clearly I'm not. I'm missing something. Totally me. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have code you can show me for what you're doing with the pixel size? It just like I really don't think pixel size is the right way to do this unless I'm wrong. Oh, thank you. Because yeah, there's other weird things too. Like on a Mac, for instance, the pixel size, if I move this window onto a different monitor that's not like a Retina monitor, the pixel size will cut in half. But everything will look the same. So it's like, to me, that doesn't seem like a useful value, because pixel size just totally depends on various weird factors. Pogger's face? What's a Pogger face? Spotify went. Oh no, I mentioned Spotify. Now I'm gonna. I don't even know. Like, does anyone know if they have an API like that? Like, can you write a game that asks Spotify to play particular music or something? It's more just like an idea I had. Evade the ban by doing another PB, but yeah, in general with the screen size stuff, if you really do need pixel size, I would be in favor of these two calls. That sounds good. It's more just like again, I would wonder if you really need pixel size. I just worry that you'd code something with pixel size and it like breaks in a weird situation, you know? Like that's kind of the whole reason of virtual size existing, is so that the screen is a consistent size no matter if it's like super high res or super low res or whatever. 1984. I have not read 1984. I know that's common, like required reading, at least in the US back when I was going to high school. It was like a required reading in some classes, but I didn't wind up reading it. Party. I love this, like whatever's going on there. That's super cool looking. Like the little, just like, little leaving sparkles everywhere. Nice. It's like, Happy New Year. Bomb Squad remix music. Whoa. Cool. Is that a remix of something in the game, or is that just like inspired by the game? Should I apply it as a completed version of the function? Oh, nice. Okay, Mr. Vishu. Yeah, I should take a look at that after. I can probably give you a more detailed answer, or maybe correct my misconceptions. Scroll up. Oh, geez. What is this? Made 1984. I was made in 1981. It's close to 1984. Tells you how old I am. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. Where's the resize function there? I can... This game. I know. I am slow. I am slow. It's coming. I'm an iPhone person, so Actually, I mean, I'm in the U.S. Most iPhones are, I think, is more than 50% of the market in the U.S. So most people I know are iPhone people. So I have to apologize to everyone constantly. What is this? It's a cool custom flag. Can you stream? Sure, you can stream if you'd like. Okay. All right, I will stop streaming for a moment. We're gonna, everyone follow Mr. Vishu's stream. I'll be back right after. I can still. Okay, all right. Uh-oh, why is the stream is not cooperating? You know if it's possible to use illegal characters for names in tournaments. What do you mean by illegal characters? Mr. Vishu, your stream. I'm not seeing it. I think it might be because most tournaments and things right now are kind of still based on like the V1 master server, so it doesn't like limit things to. Yeah, it doesn't limit to V2 account tags or anything like that. So I think you can probably use anything. That I might be wrong. It might be checking there, but yeah. Any luck, Mr. Vishu? It did not seem to be working. I can go back to streaming if you want, or oh, here we go. Up, up, up. Okay, seeing something. All right, what have we here? Oh, cool. In general, like that is like live resizing windows is a feature I certainly want to add. Right now it kind of it basically it tries to, like most UIs, it just tries to make them in like that virtual box bounds so that they at least somewhat fill the screen, but yeah, something like this would be much better. It's more just a question of like, I feel like there's, I'm not sure if exposing it in like a low level way is the right way. Like if whatever code you're doing is, getting the pixel size and setting a window based on that, like that code might totally break on a Mac with Retina screen resolution or Windows with a different DPI setting or something. That would be my worry, which is kind of why the virtual screen position or size stuff is supposed to counteract that. But that is super cool to have that option. Because yeah, there are some windows that do not take good advantage of the screen size. But for now, yeah, maybe it wouldn't hurt like if you are able to do this through getting pixel size or whatever you're able to do it by getting, we could expose that. But again, I should take a look at that though, because I still feel like you should be able to do that by fetching like virtual screen width and height. But maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I'll go back to streaming. Okay, I'm back. Oh, that's super cool though. Yeah, it's okay, so what are you referring to here? Just people using like crazy stuff like that, or weird characters? But yeah, Mr. Vishu, if I would be curious, like if you try to do something like that, or yeah, maybe I'm misremembering what virtual res will give you, but yeah, I should just take a look at your code, and yeah, I'll have to see like how that is working. Oh yeah, it is. It is unfortunately technically possible in uh, like current tournaments are basically still run on the V1 server. So even if you're using a V2 account, it's still technically a V1 account that has a V2 icon. So when you sign into the V2 server, it signs you in on the V2 server, but it also signs you in on the V1 server using like an equivalent name and icon. But it's because the V1 server is old and janky and possible to spoof and stuff like that, it's still possible to make yourself look like another V2 account, but you're not actually that V2 account. I don't know if that makes sense. At some point, I will start switching things over so it communicates to the V2 server. And in that case, it should not be possible to spoof that kind of stuff anymore. Everybody will only have, like their V1 tag. It'll all be verified through the server. So there is, stuff that is still living in like the old V1 server. It is possible to spoof there. It doesn't mean the V2 stuff is insecure. It just means the V1 stuff is insecure. So I hope that makes sense. But at some point, I'm not sure when, I will start migrating tournaments and things like that to talk to the V2 server instead of the V1 server. On iOS this year, I will do my best. I can never comment on timelines because I'm slow and everything always takes me longer than I think. I can absolutely promise 1737 should be out within a few days, or at least should start rolling out. It's going to be probably a slow rollout because it's going to have bugs and need some polish. And then, 1.8 will for certain be out this year. Like there's not much left on that. Beyond that, I can't comment. Just as fast as I can get it done. What is this? Extremely useful in tournaments to make opponents not know they're beaten? Oh, I see what you're saying. So you can like spoof somebody's. Ooh, that is shiesty. Oh man, you crafty hackers, you. It is funny. In general, like I didn't realize when writing this game or releasing the game, like how much security matters. I had this opinion of like, oh, it's a game. Who's going to spend time like hacking a game? Like I don't have to worry about making this all super secure. But it's funny how quickly I learned otherwise. But there's still so much old stuff that it's somewhat relying on the fact that hopefully people won't try to hack this. But that's not the case. But it's kind of fun in a way. It's a weird cat and mouse thing, if people do find like vulnerabilities It's sort of fun to like patch them. Um, oh yeah, I would imagine. I'm sure it's pretty competitive at the top of Diamond League there. So yeah, any. Hey, it's all's fair in love and war, right? All's fair in love and Bomb Squad. But yeah, at some point I will try to be preventing things like that, like spoofing other names. I mean, the V2 server really should prevent that. Like I'm pretty confident with the security of the V2 master server. It's more just like the rest of the game needs to talk to the V2 master server instead of the old V1 stuff. Oh yeah, I guess if someone wants to host, if we wanted to like end with some gameplay, I guess I started a little late. I started at what, like 9:20. So that means we have 20 or 30 minutes left. Okay, once you get old, will you make BS fully open source? That is a good question. Like I still feel young at heart, so I hope that doesn't happen for a while. I mean, really, like the only parts that aren't open source really concerns like the master server and accounts and stuff like that. So if I were to make that open source, I'm curious, like, would that actually benefit the world, or would it just cause a bunch of people to be hacking accounts and incompatibilities and things like that? You know what I mean? I mean, I definitely I don't plan on ever stopping working on this as long as it's continuing to, make enough money for me to keep doing it, which, so far so good. But yeah, if at some point I get old and can't do it anymore or lose interest or whatever, yeah, I would either want to like pass it on to someone else to keep it running or, maybe open source everything if there's, but like I said, open sourcing the rest of the stuff wouldn't really, I feel like I would only do that if I were shutting down the master server and stuff like that. But then open sourcing the master server client code wouldn't really. I mean, I guess that could be a case. Like if for some reason I couldn't run the game anymore, like maybe I would open source like all the code, including the master server, and then someone else could spin up their own master server and kind of replace it. So yeah, I feel like that could be reasonable if it would make sense to do that and not to like have someone else run it or something. I love like old games that I used to play, like Myth 2. I love the fact there's still Myth 2 is one of the first games I remember playing back in like the 90s. It was like a very early, I think I've shown this before. Is Bungie before Halo. You can kind of tell like the menu music, it sounds like a little like I think it's the guy that did the Halo music and stuff. It has like a slight Halo sound to it. But anyway, yeah, it was this awesome just 3D RTS game. Anyway, they did something where like once they stopped supporting the game, I don't think they fully open sourced it, but they handed the source code over to like this group of people to like maintain it, like a public sort of thing, and so they keep servers running. And as far as I know, the game is still, you can still like join the server and play the game, even though I don't think Bungie has been, selling it for 20 years now or something like that. So yeah, I love when games do that. Just like keep something alive, keep it playable long into the future, sort of thing. So I fully want to do that with Bomb Squad. I don't ever want to have it happen where it's just like one day the server's gone and that's that. But even if that did happen, I mean, I hope there's enough open sourced, or I hope it's possible to people could still play single player or whatever. That's part of my goal now is like make it more possible to just build a version of the game where you can play the single player stuff and like enjoy it even if you're not playing online. RTS and Bomb. Honestly, I've thought about like something like this could be cool. And I was thinking about, we've talked about different ideas, like a AR version of Bomb Squad, like you're playing on a tabletop or something. I was thinking like that could be like a simple RTS sort of thing with Bomb Squad could be cool. Like, throw some bomber bots over here and, throw a Kronk over here and have them attack your enemies, just Just some fun little simple thing where it's just like using all the same physics and AI and all that stuff. But anyway, getting ahead of myself. Can we obtain chests now? That is still under development. Like I said, it's possible. The only one who can obtain chests right now is currently me via this little switch here. But if you're running the latest test builds, which is currently 1737, 22157, or something in the vicinity, your game technically has the ability to get chests. It's just the server is not handing out any chests right now. So that's my job for myself in the next few days, is to finish up like this little UI, make this not super ugly, and to where like when you press open, then it'll like show you what you got, and so you see like your tickets go up and stuff like that. So I've got to finish up those last few little things, and then I will start wiring it up to actually give people chests, and also wiring up things to use the inbox. So for instance, one of the first things I want to do is, if the server sees that you are running like a recent build and you won a tournament, instead of getting that little message saying like you won a tournament and got blah, you'll wind up with a an inbox notification saying that like you won a tournament and got blah, and you'll press claim or whatever. So it'll just be a more like, you can see what tournaments you've won, or like your final standing in the tournaments without having to just like read it off the screen for 2 seconds, or within 2 seconds. So yeah, that stuff will be rolling out slowly but surely within a few days. Interesting. I'm curious like how you're getting stuck. So I would assume like if you're rendering all this stuff, like fog and things, you just have to like paste that onto geometry in like a transparent way. If you can explain a little more like what you're getting stuck with. Eric, will you include Plugin Manager pre-installed? This is a good question. In a way, it would be kind of cool. The only downside with it would be I don't want to like get in trouble with App Store rules. Some App Stores, have very specific rules about like you can't include arbitrary code like with your game or something like that, But some of that stuff is getting more flexible these days. So I just would need to make sure that I don't, do something that's going to get me rejected from, Apple App Store and Google Play or whatever. But all those practices are starting to get Apple and Google in trouble with places like the EU, which are like, no, you have to let people install their own stuff and all that. So it seems like a lot of those walls are coming down. So I will respond accordingly. There's still concerns with like I wouldn't want to do something that makes it really easy for people to install, like hacks inadvertently. So I want to be careful about that. But theoretically, I wouldn't mind making it easier for people to just like start playing with plugins and installing plugins and things like that if they've been like vetted by the community. It'd be cool to the easier it is for people to hack around on the game, like the more people we get making fun stuff. So I think that's a positive. That's the idea with the inbox, is like any sort of things that, if you get something, some periodic thing or something you get for playing on a certain day or in a certain tournament or whatever, it'll just show up in your inbox. It can just be like, oh, hey, you got this for doing this, or I don't want it to be too spammy, but it's kind of a nice place to just inform people about stuff without it, only showing up for 2 seconds. Like, I really intended the tournament stuff to be like a temporary thing. Like when you win a tournament, it's like, you won a tournament, here's your prize. But right now, it's for years and years, it's only just like printed out at the bottom of the screen for 2 seconds. Okay, so who's hosting? Rabbit Boom, should I join yours or? Okay, getting textures. Yeah, I'd have to see. I mean, theoretically, if your textures have alpha channels, which are accurate, like they should look right. I mean, there could be ordering issues. Like if you have a ton of transparent geometry, like if it's drawing in the wrong way, you know, the background stuff might appear to be on top of the foreground stuff. Is that something you're running into? Yeah, who's hosting? I will join whoever is officially hosting. Oh no. Rabbit Boom, I will send me a bill. Well, I can hook you up with whatever, a few tokens. I should, that reminds me, I should put an option for when hosting private servers for like where to host in the world. Because in cases like this, it'd be cool. Like, I wouldn't mind, I could just host, but I would want to host like in the middle of Europe or Asia or something. Whoa. Yeah, I'd have to take a look at that. I mean, there might be, I don't remember if there's flags on the geometry that you have to set to tell that it's transparent, or I know there's some maps that do have transparent geometry. Yeah, I would. Good question. Okay. Turturf. All right, I'm going to attempt to join with this most recent test build here. That'll be a good little stress test. Yay, okay. Bear's got a neck twitch. Oh, my controller is dusty. All right, time to move my head to that side. Ooh, where's this? Is this being hosted in? Where's this being hosted? My lag is surprisingly good. Code is. Oh, what was the code? TT. Oh, there I am. Ah! Oof. It's funny how like hard to get plugin or not plugin. Talking about plugins too much. How hard it is to get power ups with like a full crowd running around. I guess I should actually do the... I just treat everything as deathmatch sometimes. I'm assuming it's not Europe because my lag is 58 milliseconds. I feel like usually, for me, from California, Europe is usually like 150 or something. I should do one of those screens where it like shows everybody's lag. I'd be curious. Ooh, good job, E328. So you can't obtain chests yet. That will be as soon as I get chests. As soon as I finish polishing up that UI just a little bit, probably in the next day or two, I'll start turning on chests. And so then you should start getting chests in cases like if you win a tournament or just if you like basically anytime you probably get decently far in like a co-op level or whatever. I want to make them like, you know, decently common. So I'll have to decide like how common. But they should be, you know, it should be more than just tournaments. Also, at some point I want to change tournament entry costs so they're not ticket based. Maybe it's time based, something like that. I feel like tickets, you should just you should win tickets and spend tickets. You should win tickets and spend tickets on like cool stuff. I want to take out things where you need to spend tickets on entering tournaments and stuff like that. Your favorite BS version? I mean, I'm always going to say like the newest one just because it's like working on cool stuff in the future. I don't know. There's different ways you could answer that. In ways like, you know, 1.0 was cool because like the world was seeing it for the first time and stuff. But I like to feel that, you know, in general, it's mostly improved over time, I hope. Even if not measurably much in some cases. I do feel bad visually. It's still, it looks somewhat indistinguishable from like 10 years ago. But under the hood is very different. If the host leaves, is the game end for everyone? So this, we're playing on a private server, so that is hosted on my own server. So it should keep going. I think if the host, if I remember correctly, it'll keep going until like the last person leaves or the host like explicitly shuts it down. Oof. Yeah. This program cannot be run in DOS mode? Is that... Where did you find that? Is that embedded in like the Windows binary? I wouldn't be surprised. Nice hair. Oh, thank you. Nice haircut. Uh-oh. Mr. Smiley, did you shut down the server? I hope so. Otherwise, that means that my server bugged out or something. Oh. Smiley. It's okay. I'm happy to hear that. Like I said, if you didn't, that means that it's my fault. So. E328, do you want to host? Would it be better to have someone host in Europe? Are most people here in Europe and Asia? Maybe that would be more central. I mean, it was nice for me because my lag was lower, but I don't want... I'm used to playing with a lot of lag. It hides the fact that I'm not good. You know, I can blame it on the lag. All right. But yeah, so chests will, yeah, within a few days, I will start wiring it up so that chests will appear if you're running the... It'll probably be like, it'll only give you chests if you're running, if it sees that you're running like a new enough version of the game. So keep an eye on test builds on Ballistica.net. Oh, everyone skip. I mean, we can see if... I need to watch the tutorial every now and then to make sure it like hasn't broken. But still. There we go. Okay, this is more like the kind of lag I'm expecting, but that's fine. Oh, geez. Scary little Taobao guy. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, I hope the rollout doesn't take too long. I'd like to get chests and all that. I'll be super happy to be done with them because I'm hoping that system can just like work, be enough so that the game can, you know, make enough money to support servers, but also not feel crappy and, you know, super sleazy, free to play-ish. So yeah, I can't wait for it to be done so I can get back to finishing 1.8 and asset packs and all like the fun stuff. And it'll be nice because, you know, having tokens and all that in place means I can give people basically like infinite storage or, you know, lots of storage and lots of cool things on the servers. I can just like charge tokens if it's going to cost me money, you know, so that, like I said, so I don't bankrupt myself. As I'm chatting away, I'm just getting beaten down here, but it's okay. .500 ping, oh my gosh. I feel like 160 ping, like I'm at 160, it's playable, like it's not terrible, like I don't feel like I can play at my best, but it's okay. But yeah, 500 would be rough. Wins. Wins are good. Oh yeah, come get some. Stupid no spin rule that I added. Ah! Oops. Stop that bear. Oh no. Oh no! Oh, that was a good one. Darn Mr. No Name. I'm feeling pretty excited though, like that it's January 1st and I have a largely open January to get a lot of work done. So I'm looking forward to what can happen with the game here. November and December were pretty crazy with holidays and all that stuff. So it's like a nice, wide open. So technically, in this case, the public and private servers are on the exact same servers. A public server is just one that is running all the time, and a private server is just one that it spins up for you specifically. But it's literally on the same AWS servers in the same locations. So it's not, you won't gain any latency advantages by using a public server. Run on PSP. It would be interesting to I wonder what hardware is on like a PSP or something. It probably would not. I mean, maybe it would. Like that would be when was the PSP released? Anybody know? Oh no. 2004. Ooh. Yeah, that might not run then. I was gonna say, the bare minimum hardware. I mean, I struggled to make it almost run on an iPhone 4, which was like 2010. So that's 6 years earlier. So I'm wondering if that might have been hopeless. I mean, the game is not that demanding, but like the physics engine and stuff like that, it takes a little bit of CPU. So I'm wondering whatever they had in 2004 on a portable system probably wasn't that beefy. I still would love to get it running on a console. My guess would be like if Nintendo comes out with a Switch successor, maybe that would be a great first thing to do or something. But pretty much any of them would be great. It's just one of those like hours in the day sort of thing. Even honestly, the original Switch would probably be a good target at this point because I read the Switch just passed like the total install base of I think the PlayStation 2 in the US, which was up until then or maybe worldwide, that was like the record holder. So it's like it's a very successful platform. And plenty beefy enough to run this. But it would be cool to launch on the PS5 Pro or something with full ray tracing. Think you've seen good graphics, Cyberpunk, whatever. No, you haven't seen nothing. It would be neat. That would be interesting. That's another reason I want to get it open sourced enough where you can compile a version of the game where you can play single player or at least kind of classic Bomb Squad campaign stuff. Because then people could start porting it to things like PSP or something, if possible. I don't know if the SDK for that is still probably, secret or closed off or something. But, Bomb Squad on toasters needs to happen. There are some things too, from technical standpoints. If you look through a lot of the C++ code, the game is using stuff from C++ 20, the most recent standard of C++. And so I think a lot of older consoles, probably you'd have to limit it to way older standards, So just getting it to compile on, a system from 2004 would probably be a pretty big challenge. Would probably require changing a lot of C++ code. So in a way, it's it'd be cool, but it would require making the code base a lot less elegant, stuff or things like that. So there's part of me too that just wants to only support latest and greatest stuff where we can use the latest C++ tricks. Also Python, it's I update the game every year to support the newest version of Python, but if we wanted to support some older hardware, you probably couldn't compile the latest version of Python on it. even running on like Windows 7 or something. I think the Python 3.12, I don't think it supports Windows 7 anymore. So, you know, there's some limitations that would just be hard to get around. Even though it'd be super cool to see the game running on, you know, something old like that. Well, you wrote Shadow Ortho, but it's disabled. Oh, is it? I don't even remember. I haven't touched the graphics in a while. I'd have to get a time machine and go ask myself in 2004, why is Shadow Ortho disabled? Actually, probably the latest version of the graphics engine, I think I wrote probably about 2000. Actually, that would have been when I ported to mobile. So 2010-ish. So see, this version of the graphics engine is only 15 years old. Maybe due for a rewrite. Or at least like maybe not a rewrite, but maybe like a newer option. You know, you can run it like legacy speedy graphics mode or modern, cooler looking graphics mode or something. I know. I'm using, well, it is, I mean, it is using the same tech you would use for kind of modern shadow maps. It's just like a very low res one, and it's drawing them very blurry. And it's also using the same map for shadows as it is for lights, essentially. So it's doing some kind of, well, I guess it's also writing it to a text, like a color texture instead of a depth texture. So that's also, I guess proper depth-based shadows would be a nice addition. I have to think about that though, because it's like the game does do some tricks for, you know, writing lights and shadows to the same map, which is kind of fun for, you know, it lets you do some cool tricks. But if I were using proper like depth map shadows, I'd have to like rethink how those tricks work, you know. So something to think about. But I've mentioned before, I'm kind of forcing myself to not think about graphics until at least like version 2.0. Just because these work, you know, they're not great, but they get the job done. I kind of feel like once squads and online play and everything is like working wonderfully, then we can make the game prettier. I mean, I love graphics. Like that's why I got into all this stuff. Is like, you know, I was working at Pixar doing visual effects, so I love like making things pretty and blowing things up and all that. I'd love to just like go to town on that. But yeah, there's the pragmatic side of me says that, you know, that's not something that I should focus on right now. You know, the important part is getting to 2.0 and not adding any more features than I already have. That'll just slow things down. But yeah, man, it would be fun to play with graphics again. Like, I'd love that. Oh, sorry, I'm talking too much, moving too little. I'm getting my butt kicked worse than usual. I know, I love, I'm super excited about just everyone's contributions in general, and even though I'm sorry I'm slow at pulling in PRs and things, but I really am trying to, as I redesign things and move things forward, I'm trying to think of it in ways where if someone did want to write like a super badass ray traced engine component, like where they'd be able to do that, you know? So I'm trying to think how I can frame things in a way where people can add significant chunks to the game themselves, you know, as opposed to like me being the bottleneck for everything. I know that hasn't really borne fruit yet. Like we don't have like a scene V1 Bob, things that we were talking about there, but hopefully at some point. Just keep on trucking until we get there. Okay, I'm gonna do, I'll do one more series, then I should call it for the day. I probably should call it now. It's already been 2 hours, but one more ain't gonna hurt. Need to get working, get those chests finished up. Ray tracing and bombs. Yeah, we keep talking about that. Like, for anyone who hasn't been here for those conversations, is like, it would be super fun to like make just a high-end version of the renderer. You know, something that just went all out with like ray tracing and reflections, and you know, just took this like simple geometry and made it look as good as possible. That would only apply to like, you know, PC versions or console versions, or maybe like high-end phone versions. I would not want to make that a requirement, obviously. And a big strength of the game is that it runs on, potatoes. At this point, you don't need like fancy hardware to run it. So I don't want to like lose that advantage. But it'd be cool to have an option where you can make it look prettier if you do have like fancy hardware. So it's kind of half joke, half serious that like it'd be great to have ray tracing. But again, that's something where like I don't feel like I can justify putting time into that until post 2.0. The best I can do is maybe try to restructure the graphics engine so that it's more easier to kind of customize, so people can make their own, plug-in graphics engines or something. I mean, I have made some like graphics improvements, and like in this last year, higher frame rates behave a lot better now. If you remember, like Windows didn't used to support them at all, so now it's you can run the game at 240 FPS on Windows or Linux or whatever. That's working decently well. So like there are some improvements coming around. Oh no! SDL3 will be landing soon. If anyone's following that, like SDL is the graphics or the graphics and input and all that stuff framework that the game uses on several platforms like Windows and Linux. And there's a big version 3.0 that they've been working on for a long time. It's kind of in testing now, but there's not like a stable release just yet, but it should be coming out, I think, probably within a few months or sooner, or I don't know. Sometime this year, I think. So that'll be exciting. You can support that. That should let us get stuff like, I think like high DPI support in Windows, things like that. Some stuff will just be a lot easier to support that way. It adds more modern, some just like modern stuff games use. SDL2 is probably like 15 years old or something. Thank you. Anyone, send me food. Keep me alive while I code. Ooh, shawarma. I love shawarma. I love Mediterranean in general. Yeah. Oh. So my wife and I moved from LA up to San Francisco a few months ago. And the one thing we're trying to find still is a good like Mediterranean place in SF. Here in SF. We had one random little like place we'd always get gyros and all this other good stuff from down in Los Angeles, and so we miss it dearly. So still looking for a good one here. I'm sure there are, we just haven't found it yet. Ah! I got a few seconds at least. I still love like I don't know, a few weeks ago or whatever, like I forgot who it was hosting like slow-mo Happy Thoughts game modes, which those were quite interesting. I was surprised. Just because I feel like Happy Thoughts is like, it's pretty hard to control. A lot of people just struggle with it, but in slow-mo, I feel like it gives you a little bit more time to like think about what you're doing. I guess that's kind of how the game is in general. It's almost like a different game if it's slowed down like that. How do you say it? This word, I've read it a million times. I don't think I've ever said it out loud, so it's one of those things I probably am saying it. Koshus? It always looks like conscience to me, but it's not conscience. New life goal is, get Spaz to show up in another game or something. or a licensing deal to get, you know, some other popular character in here. It's like Fortnite. Like everybody is in Fortnite now. Once you can play Spaz in Fortnite, then I know my life is complete. Burned his phone because of Fortnite? Like intentionally, or did Fortnite like destroy his phone? Like he got frustrated and like threw it in the fire? Like what do you... So Fortnite just like fried his GPU or fried the display somehow? Yeesh. Oh no. That's crazy. I feel like you don't hear about that happening too much, just like someone's GPU frying on their phone or something. I guess phones are, in general, pretty resilient. Oh, there's, as I blow into pieces. When we were in Poland, like I said, for the holidays, visiting my wife's family near Krakow, and her cousin, her nephew, her nephew, like his GPU just got like fried the other day, I guess. So his computer was refusing to boot. So he had to get, you know, poor guy wasn't able to play his games like on the day after Christmas. But I think he's getting it repaired or something. But it's funny, I feel like you hear about that kind of stuff more. You don't hear about that as much on phones. I feel like most phones dying is because someone dropped it or, you know, whatever. Oh, get more performance. Whoops. I guess that could make sense, like pushing something. I've always been a little scared to do that, like like overclocking things. I'm doing that with I've got 3 Raspberry Pis, and but they're kind of built to overclock a little bit. So I'm pushing the clock speeds on those a little. My Raspberry Pi 5, it's part of my build setup. It's it's always the bottleneck. I have a button I press whenever I want to like release new test builds of the game. You know, it builds, you know, Linux, Windows, Mac, Raspberry Pi, and all that. And then once that's done, it uploads them all to the server. So it's just like a nice simple button, and it's always waiting on the Raspberry Pi build. Even the fastest Raspberry Pi 5 overclocked, it's still way slower than all the other builds. But it's gotten a lot better than it used to be. Maybe by like Raspberry Pi 6 or 7, it'll be, you know, similar speeds as the others. But in the other cases, I'm using, I've got it wired up to use like super beefy AWS machines to do builds on, so they go pretty fast. So I don't know if a Raspberry Pi will ever quite catch up to that. Why you didn't choose Java for developing Bomb Squad? I've never really done a ton with Java. And my experience with Java at the time when I started writing this, which was like 2004, I guess I was mostly a Linux guy at the time. I hadn't experienced Java too much. My early memories of Java were just like really, really slow GUI apps on my Mac back in the 90s. So I feel like I wouldn't have considered Java as something to develop like a fast-paced game with. Maybe that's because Java just sucked on Macs back in the 90s. Maybe Macs back in the 90s just sucked in general. So yeah, at the time, like C++ and SDL seemed like a good combination for just making a kind of a cross-platform, an OpenGL. That seemed like a good combination for a cross-platform game. Especially there weren't like, Unity didn't exist in 2004. Like Unreal, I think Unreal was around, but it was like a professional engine that was like $100,000 or something crazy. So realistically, I feel like SDL and OpenGL and C++ was kind of it seemed like the best option for performance and cross-platform goodness and all that at the time. And then Python kind of went with that, adding Python to it. I think I started adding Python to it like after I started writing it. But that kind of made sense in the same way because Python was pretty cross-platform and all that. So that just kind of evolved the way it did, which I'm happy with though. I feel like it's a good, Python is still, you know, one of the most popular languages. So I'm glad I didn't decide to write it in like Perl or something, you know. Make Wi-Fi quality better? Oh, you mean make the game perform better on Wi-Fi? I still want to do that. That's still one of the pain points of the game. I know it uses too much bandwidth, and yeah, it doesn't do like fancy stuff like client prediction. So it's a little bit, if you're lagging, you feel it, you know. But yeah, why do you ask about Java? Are you a Java developer, or? I mean, Java is quite a popular language, so a lot of people are. The largest bit of Java I'm using is like the Android layer. You know, the part between the engine and Android itself. You know, that's kind of a thin layer of Android Java code. Though Google is, you know, trying to push people into Kotlin, however the heck you say that. So at some point I should probably, yeah, replace my Java code with Kotlin. Oh, and here we are. Let's see. Did I get any points? Sorry, I've been yapping and not paying attention, so. I've probably been the easiest target for people. Oh yes, all right, 4 points. Yes, I've done it. I've accomplished my goal in life. All right, well, I probably should bow out now. It's been fun. Renderware. What is renderware? That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if I know that. Game engine. Okay. Yeah, yeah, not sure if I'm familiar with it. I should check that out. Always good to know what's out there. It would be interesting to play with like Godot too, just because that's open source. So theoretically, you know, if we wanted to like use parts of Godot, if the licenses worked out, like that would theoretically be possible. But I also kind of like having Ballistica just be kind of its own purpose-built little thing. You know, it's like the Millennium Falcon. It's all duct taped together and, you know, a little janky, but it gets the job done. And the thing I always say about like using my own engine versus, you know, using Unity or Unreal or something is like the nice thing is if something breaks, I know exactly why, or, you know, it's like I know all the pieces of it very well and there's nothing changing under the hood that I have to deal with, you know? So it's kind of nice to feel a little bit more kind of in control of my own destiny sort of thing, you know, even if it is a little slow to work with. Check DM. Okay, I will check DMs right after this. I'm going to get this thing uploading to YouTube, provided it has sound. Palm Squad text for Efro Squad. I still plan on, I'm excited about, I want to get 1.8 done. Or, yeah, get 1.8 out the door, but then it'll be a lot of fun working on the 1.9 and the squad system and stuff. I still want to start, like the way I've thought about building it is, you know, starting with a simple like server-side Python API that anyone can build stuff out of. And at the start, it'll just be really simple to where you can build servers that anyone can, or you can build game code that anyone can play with their squads. But, you know, to start with, it'll probably be like text only. So I still want to have like a period where we do like text squad or, you know, mod squad or mud squad, like those old, yeah, multi-user dungeons, the old things you used to hear about, like, you know, so we'll start out with Mud Squad. People can code little text-based games that you can join with your squads, and from then we'll add, you know, more functionality to get it up to the full GUI game and all that. But yeah, Mud Squad, it's gonna be great. All right. Well, I should probably bow out for now and get coding and responding to DMs and things. Yeah, message me offline if you want to buy a gold pass. I need to wire up a system to do that. I have a system for my V1 server where I can, you know, give people things, but I don't have that yet for V2, so I need to write that. Clay Squad. Well, the whole thing is Clay Squad. But yeah, for it'll be fun. The 1.9 stuff will be fun. Being able to write little, you know, games or leagues or things like that. That's what that's going to be all about. So we'll start with Mud Squad. Then we'll move on to some other simple squad. I was thinking for kind of starting for like Scene V2, starting to add kind of complicated features in there like client prediction and things. I was thinking it'd be cool to start with like really simple but really extensible physics. You know, just like limiting it to a few node types. So we'd have like a terrain node and maybe like spheres or something, you know. But then it would like be super polished. It would have, you know, client prediction and just really clean, like well understandable code and things like that, and then like slowly build it up to be able to do everything Bomb Squad can do, except with client prediction and, you know, cool features. But to start with, I was thinking like the first version of that could be just nothing but like terrains and spheres, so that could be fun. I was thinking that could just be like Ball Squad. So we'll start with Mud Squad, and then we'll move on to Ball Squad, and then we'll get full on like Scene V2 Bomb Squad. So, you know, there's a lot coming down the pipe for 1.9. But anyway, rambling. Uh-oh, bug. Ooh, important bug. Thank you for that. If you can send me like detailed repro steps on that, you just so I guess just hosting, yeah, like, or send me your server config. You know, if you can give me something like, hey, host this config, join with 2 players, then leave with those 2 players. You know, just like give me a step-by-step way to reproduce that, and then I can see if I can take care of it. Or if someone else wants to, like if you want to post that somewhere public, like maybe someone else can help with that. It's probably just we need to tweak the rules for last stand so that it like ends the game if there's no players left or something. You know what I mean? Get back to coding. Aw. So, okay, anyway, all right, I'm gonna bow out now. So yeah, been fun hanging with everyone, playing a bit. Good to see you all again. I really hope this video came out. So it's been a while. I know, like I haven't properly posted a video since I got my new MacBook, which has been a little while now. Yeesh. So people are gonna think I died. So anyway, happy 2025, everyone, and I will see all you folks in the next video. So peace out.